Welcome back to another episode of the Suits in the Stadium podcast. I am your host, Casey Coleman. Joining me on this week's episode is Wes McCurtis. Wes is currently the Athletic Director and Associate Dean of Kinesiology at Cypress College. Really enjoyed my conversation with Wes, just talking about his different journeys and adventures in collegiate athletics. I think the biggest thing that stuck out was when he talked about the idea of poise as a main quality that those of us looking to get into the sport management space need to have. It's something that's very important to him. It's something that he always strives to look out for in people that he's hiring, people that are excited to be there, people that are willing to put in the hard work, put in the long days, the planning ahead, the acting and reacting to situations that maybe we didn't plan for. So really, I think that was the biggest thing that stuck out from my conversation. I know I enjoyed my conversation. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Wes McCurtis. Folks, please help me welcome in this week's guest, Wes McCurtis. Wes is currently the Athletic Director and Associate Dean of Kinesiology at Cypress College. Wes, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited. Truth be told, you're actually currently a professor of mine in the Long Beach State program. We connected a few weeks ago in class. Aaron Eric also mentioned that I should have you on the pod. So here we are. You're on the pod.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm glad I came with a reference. Always good to know.
Absolutely. Well, we'll jump right in, starting a little bit with your education and work experience. First question, what pivotal experiences in your education or early career helped you realize that the sports industry was the right path for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I knew sports was the path for me for a long time. I was one of the lucky people who kind of knew that from pretty much high school. The first college visit I went on was to Long Beach State, and I kind of got a tour of the sport management program there, and I knew it was a master's program. So at that point, I was like, well, looks like I'm probably going to have to go to school for more than 4 years if I really want to do this. So, I had the opportunity to go to Cal Lutheran, where I went for my undergrad. Was a business major. Planned on being a student athlete, playing on the basketball team. I did that for my freshman and sophomore year. Didn't really pan out the way that I wanted it to. I was a great high school player, but didn't end up being a great college player, one of those guys. So, I really got a feel for, the programs that an athletic department offers, kind of the experience of being a student athlete, and got a feel for, what I think or what I thought could be better as far as support for student athletes at that time. So that's really when the wheels started spinning for me, where I was like, okay, I know I want to be in sports. But at that point, after my athletic career didn't go the way I thought it would, I was kind of like, you know what? I think being an athletic director would be really cool. Would give me an opportunity to kind of create a program, focus on helping mentor, student athletes, coaches, creating programs around them to help support them through that journey. And so that's kind of where it all started for me. And then obviously went to the sport management program at Long Beach State. Ended up with an internship here at a JUCO at Cypress College, which, junior college isn't something I had ever thought of or even considered really. But once I got here, I kind of I realized it was a great opportunity for me. Felt like, I related to our student athletes here a lot. Gave me an opportunity to be, really hands-on with everything that's going on. So been here ever since. And so, year 5 as now the athletic director here.
Love it. Next question, in the ever-evolving world of sport management, how do you stay updated and continue to learn beyond formal education? Are there ongoing educational experiences or maybe other resources that you recommend?
Yeah, funny enough, I think I said it in class the other day, I'm a big podcast guy. So I listen to a ton of sports related podcasts, ton of podcasts that are directly related to athletic administration. 80 Insider is probably my favorite one. And then I just listen to all different types of podcasts that just kind of talk about, professional sports, college sports, current trends, that type of stuff. Helps kind of keep me, in the loop and allows me to come up with some new ideas and things to implement at our level, which is obviously a lot different than what's going on in the pros, or, at USC. But other than that, I like to stay really involved in a lot of professional organizations. So involved with NACTA, so like the National Athletic Directors Association. They have a fall event, spring event, summer convention. I go to all those. So actually, coming up into September, I'm going to the fall forum, which is in Denver. So get to meet with a bunch of other ADs and athletic administrators from all over the country, all different levels, and really, guest speakers come in. We get to talk about a bunch of different ideas and things that we're doing, and hear what other people are struggling with, and new initiatives that they have coming up. So I really like to stay involved that way. We have NADICA as well, so that's National Association for 2-year college athletic administrators. We have the California Athletic Directors Association. So I do my best to stay involved with all those associations, meet as many people as I can. As somebody who's still, like you said, I've been in sports now for 15 years, but as this being my 5th year as an athletic director, I still feel like I have a good hold on everything that's going on, and a great understanding at our level for everything that's going on. But there's always ways to continue, learning, building. So I do my best to keep myself out there, talk to people, create those relationships, and just keep learning. So
Yeah, love that idea of just, like you mentioned, rubbing shoulders with different ADs. As you mentioned, you're maybe newer to the game than some of the ADs
right.
that you're meeting and spending time with from across the country. And so definitely learning from those people. And we'll jump into a mentor question in a little bit. But just the idea, as you mentioned, of being involved, spending time, learning, growing, being a sponge, I think that's super important for sure.
Yeah, that's the best way for me. I like being in it. So
Love it. Love it. Next question. I came up with just because it's something that related to me. Just kind of curious your insight on this. What advice would you give to individuals who are considering a career in sport management, but may not have the traditional sports related education or experience? How can they leverage their existing skills and knowledge to break into the industry?
yeah, that's a great question, and that's kind of going back to how I got started in this. Obviously, I kind of, like we talked about earlier, I decided, being an athletic director is what I wanted to do. But I knew, even coming out of school, if I had my master's, all those things, you don't just graduate and and get an AD job. That's not how it works.
Though you wish
Unfortunately.
it were.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Everyone wishes it did, but you have to you have to start from somewhere. And so I really, kind of thought about it, like, okay, what skill sets do I have? What can I, kind of leverage to just get my foot in the door? Because that's really what it's all about at the start. Is everybody has these ideas of what they want to do, but at the end of the day, to be in sports, to be in college athletics, professional athletics, everybody has to start from the bottom, basically, and
Sure.
it's a grind to work your way up.
Sure
Um,
is.
yeah, oh yeah. And so a lot of it is, you work for free, you work for low pay, but you got to be willing to accept those roles, and go above and beyond if you're someone who wants to move up, especially if you want to move up quick. So
Right.
so for me, having that business background, primarily in marketing, that was how I got involved, with Cypress College and the
Okay.
sports information and marketing department, where I was like, okay, junior college, don't know anything about it. But this is an opportunity. I know I'm good at marketing. I have, a background in marketing, marketing skills. So if I can just kind of get my foot in the door, and show people that, I can learn quickly. I'm someone who, can relate, to the athletes who are there, to the staff that are there, and really gain a better understanding of, what the overall picture is. Whether it's here at Cypress or somewhere else, like, I could see myself, moving up and be able, to get an opportunity to do this. And so, for everyone else who's out there, looking to kind of, break in, even if your background isn't necessarily in sports management or sports, really, taking that time to reflect on, what your strengths are, what you're good at already. And maybe, you're trying to make a change and you want to do something else, but just from the jump, like that initial getting your foot in the door, take those strengths, take those things that you're already good at, and find something where you're going to be able to fit in and, provide something valuable to that organization or that school where you're going to stand out. And then you'll have the opportunity, hopefully after that, to then make that transition to the role or to that position that is your ultimate goal that you want to get to.
Yeah, I love that. Great insight. Definitely applies for me as well. Prior to the Long Beach State program, I didn't have any experience in sports. My undergrad was not sports related either. So in this program, have, as you mentioned, used the skills that I've gained in other areas, in different internships and opportunities. So definitely relate to all that you just shared. Next question, and you alluded to this a second ago, but you worked approximately 15 years so far in the sport management field. To what or to whom do you credit your longevity so far in the sports world?
Um, I would credit, my mom, number one, just because she's the one, even going back to me being a kid, she's always, been the one to really encourage me to try all the different sports. And so I think, having that background where I have an understanding of different types of sports, even sports that I may not have played, but at least I have an understanding for, as you know, or anyone involved in sports, like there's a sports culture, right? But then each individual sport kind of has its own culture
Sure.
within it. So it's like coming in and not having that understanding of all those different sports really narrows your options down, I think. And so that's why, I think it's super important to kind of get out of your comfort zone, learn about and get involved with as many sports as possible, because that's only going to open up more and more opportunities for you. And so I think that's why going back, to my mom at such a young age where she made me try everything, even though I could show up for my first, soccer practice and just be like, I don't want to play soccer. She's like, well, you're going to play it at least one season. And then after that, you can be done with it if you really don't like it. But at least I experienced, all those different sports, and it created like kind of that foundation for me. And that's why, going back to, 15 years ago when I was working in Parks and Rec, and that was primarily, at a huge soccer complex. I didn't play soccer at any, high level or anything like that, but at least I had an understanding for the rules and the culture of soccer and all those things where I was able to, again, stand out there and then kind of move into the next thing. And so I think, kind of having that flexibility, I guess, I would say that's a big reason for why I've been doing this for so long, and that's why I'm trying to continue to learn different things about other sports. There's a ton of emerging sports right now. Like CIF just added women's flag football, and you got lacrosse blowing up on the West Coast, and so there's all these emerging sports that again I would like to try to learn more about, get involved with, because as those continue to grow, those are only going to provide more opportunities for me and for other people in the industry.
Sure. Love it. Love it. Transitioning to the advice and insights portion of our conversation. What are the key skills or qualities that you believe aspiring sport management professionals should focus on developing to stand out in such a competitive job market?
Yeah. One of them I touched on a little bit in that class that we had, poise. Poise is the big one for me. When I'm hiring people, when I'm evaluating people, whether that's interns or staff or anybody, that's the number one thing that I look for, and I feel like just throughout the industry, it's a non-negotiable, really. And a lot of people, I feel like, don't go out of their way to. It's not something that you think about necessarily, but again, working in live events, working in sports, you're dealing with anything from a coach being upset or something going wrong at an event, where scoreboard goes out or power goes out. I mean, we hosted our Hall of Fame event last year here at Cypress, and we get halfway through the event, and this is something we put in, months and months of preparation, and the power goes out. Boom. Like in that situation, we have someone giving a speech. It's like, what do you do? Like everybody could, freak out and start running around like
Right.
with no idea what to do. But when you're able to maintain that poise, maintain that calm, and kind of provide that direction to people, I think that's a skill that's really invaluable in our industry. Again, working with so many events, especially live sports and things, like things go wrong. There's always going to be something that goes wrong throughout the season. You're never going to have a perfect season.
Sure.
And so those are the situations where I want to make sure, and I think people in the industry want to make sure that they have people who can, think quickly, make decisions, stay calm, and that's where those leadership capabilities really come in as well, where you want someone, who can kind of get the group together and make sure everybody's on the same page, and nobody's freaking out. So that's the main one for me.
Love it. Love it. Kind of piggybacking off of that, just in the area of poise. The sport industry is known for its high pressure moments. You just talked about the one you had at your event last year.
Yeah.
How do you personally maintain composure and make strategic decisions during intense situations?
Yeah, I mean, it's practice is the main thing. Again, I mean, I think just the nature of, again, being someone who was an athlete, you're naturally going to get put in those pressure situations. So I feel like I kind of practiced it that way. In some of the previous work that I used to do, I was, like I said, an SID here at Cypress. I did a lot of freelance work as a statistician. So, I was doing live stats for NBA G League games at the scorers table. I was doing, Nike camps with, some of the top prospects in the country, Adidas camps. I was doing big time, college games, basketball, football. And so in those situations, like doing live stats, you're following every play, every moment. And it's like you can't make mistakes in those situations. And if you
Sure.
do make a mistake or you miss something, they're going to come right back down the court immediately after that, and you're going to miss the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like being in that situation where it's like there's just that constant pressure.
Sure.
Where now, like when these situations come up, I feel like things sometimes move a little more slowly, and it makes it easier to kind of maintain that calm. And at the end of the day, too, I always kind of fall back in my head when things get tough or things start going a little bit too crazy. It's also, I kind of tell myself as a joke, like at the end of the day, like this is a game. Like this is sports. We're here to have a good time. Like
Sure.
enjoy things. Like sometimes, we get caught up in everything that's going on around the game and around the sport, where people can take themselves a little bit too seriously or the situation too seriously. And so sometimes I just got to be like, I couldn't have even made up this situation, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we're all just going to do our best to kind of make do.
Sure.
And I think kind of taking that approach has worked in some of those situations where it's just like, don't know how to fix this. I don't know if we can fix it, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Next question. We talked about a little bit in the beginning, just how you stay involved with these different AD programs. And then you mentioned in regards to your longevity in sports that your mom was someone you would credit. Just wanted to talk about the idea of mentors. And the question is, did you have different mentors along your journey that you leaned on when you needed to? And how would you say they best helped you along your journey?
Yeah, no, I definitely had mentors. I would say my first mentor was a professor I had at Cal Lutheran. She was actually, I don't think I've ever told her she was a mentor necessarily. But kind of when I had that realization that I wanted to pursue a career in sports in my undergrad, she was one of the marketing professors at Cal Lu, and she actually, in her past career had worked in marketing for like Major League Baseball teams.
Okay.
And so she was really the first person that I had ever come across that like had a successful career in sports, where I was just like, okay, like there's actually people that exist that like do this, like at that point, like there wasn't anyone that I had known at that point where I was
Sure.
just like, okay, like they work for a team or they work for a league or anything like that. It was kind of just like these invisible people. I have no idea who they are or where they're at.
Yeah.
So she was really the first one that I met. And so, I always went on my way to, ask her questions, talk with her. So, she was great, kind of helped me, you know, focus in on what my strengths were at that time. Again, being in those marketing classes, I think she knew that was something I was good at and maybe a way to kind of get myself in the door.
Yeah.
So she helped spark that idea for me. And then once I left Cal Lutheran and ended up here at Cypress, I mean, I've had a number of mentors, both here at Cypress and then, other sports information directors. When I started here as a sports information director throughout the state, I saw, when I first started as an SID here, there were two other SIDs in our conference who made the transition from sports information directors to athletic directors at other schools.
Okay.
One of them being, Andrew Wheeler, who was at Citrus College, and then another one being Jason Kaler, who was at Santa Ana College, and then got hired as the AD at Orange Coast College. So
Okay.
when I saw those two guys do it, and they kind of, they're both presidents of the Sports Information Association, and they worked as SIDs for the conference as well. And so Jason, kind of passed that along to me, where he was like, hey, like if this is the path you're trying to take, like run for president of the state association and get involved, even though you've only been here for 2 years or whatever. And then get involved at the conference level. And so I took his advice. I did both of those things, and then next thing I ended up making that the same transition that both of those guys made. So I definitely credit them for kind of paving the way for me there as well. And then I've just had a number of other athletic directors and mentors here at Cypress that I've kind of leaned on along the way to bounce ideas off of, ask questions. Again, because there's always situations. There's a ton of situations that pop up in my role. At some point, you're just like, okay, I think I've seen everything at this point, and then something happens, and you're just like, all right, well, didn't see that coming, haven't dealt with that before. But always going to somebody who they probably have dealt with it before at one time or another, and kind of getting that advice and talking it through is definitely something that's helped me along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Love asking the mentor question. None of us have gotten to where we're at on our own. And it's definitely cool to just, as you mentioned, give those people their props. Even if you've never done it before, as you mentioned with the professor at Cal Lutheran, maybe you never told her, but she definitely had an impact on you and your journey where you're at. So I think that's great. Next question, kind of sticking on the mentors, the other people in our lives, something that's very much pushed in the Long Beach State program, which you would know as being a student and now professor in the program, is the idea of networking. Networking plays a crucial role in many industries, including sport management. How can individuals new to the field effectively build a strong network in the sport management sector, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, in my opinion, I mean, going back to kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, I think the easiest way, at least for me, I'm not somebody who can just like show up at an event and just like start shaking hands and talking to everybody
Sure.
there. Like that's not my. There's people that can do it, and I wish I could do it but I can't.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's always just been like doing, basically, is like getting out there, taking any opportunities that are presented to me, whether they're paid, whether they're unpaid, and meeting the people there, establishing a relationship, showing them, that I'm a hard worker and that I can deliver on whatever assignments that they give me. I feel like that's the number one way. Obviously, you can go to networking events and things like that, and you meet people, and you can talk and ask questions and those things. But I feel like that's a good way to meet people. But at least for me, like I want to see you do it.
Sure.
I don't just want to talk about doing it, or answer questions about doing it. Like I want to see it. And so I feel like if people have those opportunities, they need to take them. Again, whether it's outside their comfort zone or not, just take those opportunities, run with it. You don't know what's going to come out of it. But other than that, I do think that something the program talks about all the time, and I think is super useful is the informational interviews.
Yeah.
When I was in the program as a student, I did a number of them, and I think it was beneficial for me to again kind of get a feel for, because at that time, I was like, okay, do I want to stay in 2-year athletics? Do I want to make a move right now to a 4-year university? So like talking to different people at different levels, Power Five schools, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and trying to get a feel for what those differences were, and what I thought was best for me at that time. And I feel like it really provided some clarity. I established relationships, with individuals at all those different, levels of college athletics.
Yeah.
And so those are people, again, when I have questions, or, I'm at a conference or something like that and I run into them. I have those relationships already where now I don't just feel like I'm walking up to these people that I don't know,
Yeah.
and just being like, hey, I'm Wes, from Cypress College. What's going on? And trying to like start a conversation, because
Yeah.
that's just, it's weird for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I think the best way to go about networking is. And obviously, getting involved in any, professional organizations that align with where it is that anyone's looking to go. Like I said, there's a bunch out there for athletic directors, athletic administrators. There's professional organizations for marketing, and I'm sure sales and community relations and all those different areas of sports. And so I would say get involved in those, try to meet people in those relationships. You never know when they're going to come in handy, or what they could lead to.
Absolutely. Following up on the informational interview piece, I joke with people that I turned informational interviews into a podcast.
Right. Worked out.
Absolutely, it did. Yeah, I was having a conversation the other day with a fellow alum, and he's like, "Why did you start the podcast?" And I was like, "It's kind of just informational interviews, like taking it to the next level."
Right. Yeah.
And I love it, and just sharing it with other people and allowing other people to learn from those that are doing it. So,
Exactly.
informational interviews, very important.
Yeah.
Final question in the advice portion of our conversation. What is the key to maintaining a good work-life balance? How do you not get overwhelmed with your career and still make time for your family and friends and things you enjoy doing outside of work?
Yeah. That's a tough one, especially in college athletics or professional athletics as well. In my role here, I have to be at every home athletic event.
Okay.
So during the season, once basically right now, we're at the beginning of fall, through basically, December till the holidays, we're locked in nights, weekends. We're here. If there's a game, if there's practices, if there's anything going on, we're here. And so it can become a grind during the season, but I think the one way that I kind of try to maintain that balance is, number one, I go out of the way to make sure that I have, at least from my perspective, I mean, maybe they'll tell you different, but I have good relationships with all the people that I work with. So I always find time throughout the day to make sure that, because I know people are here, they're working long hours.
Yeah.
To make sure I go out of the way to make sure people are enjoying themselves, enjoying their time while they're here. Whether that's recently the thing has been we put down pickleball lines in the gym, and so we have a little net that we move out. So just randomly, I'll be like, all right, we're gonna go play doubles. So we'll hop in there, we'll get a quick little doubles game of pickleball in, and then just
Love
be
it.
like, all
Love
right,
it.
go back to what we're doing. So just like little things like that, where it's like, okay, we may have a game at 7 o'clock, and we're not going to be out of here till 9 or whatever, but
Yeah.
we're going to make sure that we at least have something like that throughout the day, where we're not just sitting here in front of our computer, locked in for 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So those things help. Also, really kind of during the off season time, so during summer, for us, there's really it's slow during the summer, so I'm really flexible with everybody's schedule during the summer. I tell people I don't want to see you for 3 weeks. I don't want to hear from you. Don't want to see you. Don't answer text messages from coaches. Don't do anything. You need to go and you need to, enjoy your vacation or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And get that time off. And there are down times like that throughout the year. And I think really getting a feel for when those times are and making sure that, you're taking the time to take care of yourself and your family and all those things. Extremely important. So it is a balance, because I'd be lying if I was telling you that everyone here had a perfectly balanced life throughout the season. It's just not. It's not the reality. And it's one of those things where, again, if you're looking to get into sports, I just feel like you don't need to sacrifice those things like your family and friends and all those things, but there just needs to be that realization that, hey, if I'm committed to doing this, if I'm committed to work for, the Lakers or whatever, and I have to be at, 40 home games a year, like that's going to take away from some of those other things.
Yeah.
And it comes with the territory. And believe me, our coaches will let me or whoever else know if, they expect us to be here or something to be done, and we're not here, or that thing isn't done. So people they're going to hear about it. They're going to be held accountable for it if those things aren't happening. So everyone here, again, we do our best to kind of maintain that balance. We set boundaries, where it's like, okay, I'm off on this day. There's no games going on. If, people need something, I'm just like, you can call me if you really need something, but if not, just go to this person. I'm going to go, play golf today, or I'm going to, hang out with my girlfriend or whatever it is that we're doing. Because we need that time, that space away from each other sometimes.
Absolutely. As fun it is to be together, you need that away space as well, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Love it, love it. Bringing it home, final few questions. What is the most heartwarming or memorable sports moment you witnessed or experienced? Maybe something we as the casual fan would never see on TV, but you had the chance to witness or experience?
Heartwarming, man. That's a hard one. A heartwarming sports story that I've seen. I mean, I think I can't. Well, I guess I can't think of a specific one. So I mean, it's something that a lot of people haven't seen, because it happened, here at Cypress. It's one of those things where, again, we have student athletes who come here. Some who were overlooked for size or grades or whatever the reason. Some athletes who come in, they're great players in high school. They come here, expecting to be a starter and be all conference and all those things. And it just doesn't always go the way that people are going to think that it's going to go, right? So one scenario, we had a women's basketball player here. She came in, she redshirted for a season. Then she, comes back for her second season. Then it's COVID, and so it throws that off again.
Yeah.
Then she gets hurt. So then she has a serious knee injury. So then she's out for another season. So when she finally, gets rehabbed and gets back on the court and gets to play, she was a bench player. So she played some minutes, but not significant minutes, regular minutes. But we had, a big playoff game on the road. I think we were at Glendale, I believe. and she was in late in that game, and they drew up a play for like our stud player. She missed like a 15-foot shot. People go for the rebound. Ball just kind of like leaks out. She's in the corner, picks it up off the ground, buzzer beater. Game over,
Love
and
it.
like the crowd like went nuts. Her teammates, went nuts over it. We got it on video. It was I was standing in the corner, and I saw the video later. I kind of just like blacked out for a second, so I just like see me in the video like jump, and I was going crazy just because I was so happy, for that athlete, because she was here longer than she thought she was going to be here. She overcame, so many different, so much adversity, so many different things, and we've had a number of athletes, go through similar things like that, and that's, I feel like, one of the most rewarding parts of my job is kind of getting to be behind the scenes and really see that whole process for some of our athletes, and then seeing them, ultimately get to transfer on and go play at a 4-year university, which for a lot of our athletes, that's their end goal. So, that's one of the moments, and there's a bunch of other ones, but that's the main one that comes to mind when I think heartwarming. I drove home after that, and I was like, man, that's crazy. I can't believe that shot out of everybody went to her,
Yeah.
and she no hesitation just drilled it like it was nothing, and it was just cool to see.
Love it. She was ready for her shot.
Oh yeah,
Next question. If Wes could switch roles with any athlete for a day, who would it be and why?
man. Well, if it's any athlete ever, it would have been Allen Iverson. I'm a huge Allen Iverson guy.
Okay,
That was
okay.
that was my dude. That was, when I was playing basketball as a kid. I had all the finger bands and the wristbands and the leg band and the headband. I thought I was Allen Iverson. Wanted to be him. But but current athlete, um, man, I think I would probably, if I could switch with any athlete, I'd probably be Jimmy Butler right now.
Okay,
I'm a Heat fan. I'm a huge Heat fan.
okay.
And so Jimmy Butler, again, he's one of those dudes. Like, I just respect him a lot. Again, JUCO guy, like super, um, you know, uh, overlooked coming out of college, kind of built himself up, and then, following that Heat playoff run this last season, I went into the playoffs as a fan with absolutely no expectations, and then he just carried the team. He's jacked. He's out there just giving people buckets, and
Yeah,
he's in Miami. He's in Miami, so I mean, he's probably out there having a great time. He's at Inter Miami games watching Messi. So it just seems like Jimmy Butler's living the life right now. I'd switch with Jimmy Butler if I was switching with anybody.
love it, love it. Two great players for sure.
Yeah,
AI and Jimmy Butler.
yeah.
If you could choose one song to play every time you walked into a room, what would you choose and why?
One song. There's not really a good reason other than me just liking the song.
That's all right.
I'm a big Nate Dogg guy. So I'm Fly by 213. So Nate Dogg, and that's one of my favorite songs. It's gets me hyped. It's like got a smooth beat to it. I could just see like me or anybody really like walking into a room like slow motion kind of thing. So
Okay.
I think that'd be my go-to song. If I was a baseball player, that'd be my walk-up song too.
There you go. There you go. Final question. Sports often brings people together and creates unforgettable moments. You hit on one a second ago in that basketball game. Can you share a personal sports memory that left a lasting impact on you? Not necessarily in a role you held, maybe a game you attended as a fan or an experience you got to have as a fan that you'll always remember?
Yeah, I mean, there's the number one memory, I think. I mean, there's a lot of sports memories from me playing, from watching games, being at games, but for me, the top one, at least for like a game that I was at, I think the best game hands down I've ever been to live was that Rams Chiefs game. Um,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
the the game they were supposed to play it in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And then there's something wrong with the field, so they moved it to LA. It was right after California was burning. There was just the shooting at Borderline out in Thousand Oaks. I went to Cal Lutheran, so that was a place where I knew people that always went there. That's a place that
Sure.
I used to go when I was in college. So coming off of all that and then being able to be at that game, crazy environment. Couldn't leave my seat to go do anything because if I left, I would have probably missed 21 points being scored. And so just the from start to finish, the way that game went. I've been a Rams fan my entire life. My dad was born in St. Louis and then moved to LA, so he kind of passed that along to me. So I've been to games when they were in St. Louis, when they were terrible. And so them coming to LA was something that I always wanted, and I got to go to their first game in LA where they won like 6-0. I thought that was going to be an epic sports memory for me, but it wasn't. It was one of the most boring games I've ever seen.
Was that at the Coliseum?
Yeah, that was at the Coliseum. It was Rams Seahawks, the first game back in LA, and they won 6-0, 2 field goals. So that was the Jeff Fisher era. But that Rams Chiefs game, that was the best. Like, I'll never forget being at that game, the experience of that game, because it was amazing start to finish. It's exactly what you hope for when you get a ticket to go to a sporting event like that, where you're going to kind of witness like history. And I feel like that's one of the most historic game that I've ever, or event that I've ever been to or seen live. So definitely that one for me.
Great answer. Well, Wes, thanks so much for giving of your time, just sharing a little bit about your journey, starting at Cal Lu all the way to where you're at Cypress College. I appreciate you taking the time, being on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun. So if you ever want me back, or need a reference from me, since Aaron's out here big time giving references, I'm always available. Appreciate it.
Love it. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for watching another episode of the Suits in the Stadium podcast. You can still find the audio version of our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many more. New this season, you can find the video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Please make sure, if you haven't already, to follow us across social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We release new episodes every Monday, so make sure you subscribe so you never miss a single episode. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one.